In Hebrews chapter 10, verses 1 through 10, the section that is under examination tonight, the writer wants his readers, I believe, to understand that there is a contrast, a comparison and a contrast between the earthly system of sacrifices and atonement and the priesthood and things like that, and the heavenly sacrificial system with its high priest of Yeshua and the atonement that's offered via Messiah's blood. And the important detail that the writer wants us to walk away with is that at an earthly level, the sacrifices themselves couldn't cleanse the conscience. They couldn't cleanse us of sins of the heart. They couldn't penetrate to the spiritual man. They could only affect the outward, the external, the fleshly, the ritual. And so for that reason, there was a built-in repetition to the sacrifices. They had to be repeated over and over. And the reminder is built into the repetition. They work together. The repetition brings up the reminder, and the reminder recalls the repetition, so they work hand in hand. And so within the system on earth, the limitation of that system, and the weakness, if you want to call it that, is that it couldn't penetrate to the spiritual man. And therefore, God knew that the earthly system must one day yield or take a back seat to the heavenly system. And there's a fulfillment that would have taken, that was looked forward to, that was prophesied about, where the sacrifice of Yeshua would actually finally pay the price that was incurred at the debt of sin that man incurred when he violated God's laws. The debt that was created on our part, that we had to pay God back with our own life because of the contractual agreement that we took on ourselves. Yeshua stepped in substitutionary fashion and paid the price. And therefore, in paying the price, he redeemed us from death, he cleansed us from sin, and he ushered us into the very presence of the Father himself. And all of this was done once and for all, not repetitively year after year like the sacrifices, like the Yom Kippur sacrifice. So that's the context of this first 10 verses, is he's trying to get them to understand that there's a contrast between the effectual nature of the earthly sacrifices, and there's a contrast between the frequency of when they had to be brought. Christ was once and for all. The earthly ones were repetitive, day after day, month after month, year after year, and things like that.